Okay, so we are live. This is the Board of Health meeting of August 18th, 2021, and it is being recorded. And I think we're all here with the possible exception of Wim, who's having connection problems. And the very first thing I would like to do, because I always forget it if we don't do it first, is approve the minutes of last meeting, which I believe I distributed. Yes?
You did.
Yes.
Okay.
You did.
Did anybody have any problems with that? Any emendations?
No, I thought they were great. Thank you.
Okay, everybody cool?
No problem.
Okay.
Can you hear me? I think I'm back, but
You're sort of
I'm
back,
having
but it's very
technical
garbled and
problems.
distorted.
yeah, so I cannot figure out how to do the audio on this.
You could always just phone in and then we wouldn't get to look at you, but we could probably hear you.
All right, and is that on the link?
Pardon me?
That's on the link to a way to just phone in?
On the email that I sent with the link in it, it also gives you a phone number.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna
You'll
try
see
that because
in-
this is not working.
No, it's not. And in that email, Wim, you'll see a phone number and a passcode. When you call in, it'll ask you then to enter the passcode. You should be good.
Okay, I'm gonna do it. Bye.
Oh, tech. So if we have no objections, we'll approve the minutes of last meeting.
Mhm.
Grace sent an email around to all the different boards saying we're missing minutes from different times, and she gave each board a list of the minutes they were missing. 3 of them I had, and one of them was minutes that had been approved, but apparently never distributed or even finalized. So
gosh.
you guys showed a great deal of misplaced trust by just saying, "Oh yeah, sure." It was way back in February, and then it slipped my mind, so I haven't got them. But I'm gonna have to distribute them, and then we'll have to re-approve them since you've never seen them before. Neither have I. So very quickly, Brad Spry is here about 409 West Pelham Road. This is the place formerly owned by Elaine Weaver. He is replacing the septic system with a local upgrade, which I've forgotten what it's for. And he is putting in a new well. Charlie has reviewed the plan. That's why Charlie came to that meeting last night, Arlene. He came to get the plan. And he recommends approval, and there's just a small change or two that are going to be indicated in the as-built. So he recommends that we go ahead and approve it and permit it tonight. And as far as the well goes, Brad, remind me, is the new well cited on the septic system plan?
It is. The septic system plan includes the proposed spot for the new well on the north side of the house. Previously, the old shallow well and the septic system were both on the south side of the house. The old well was a shallow well. It was within 100 feet of the old septic system. So to lay everything out in compliance moving forward, the perk test for the new septic was done on the south side of the house, and the proposed location for the new well is 45 feet on the north side of the dwelling, which gives it 100 plus feet from the old septic and 110 feet from the new septic.
Excellent. Okay. Does anybody have any questions or comments about this application?
No, that sounds great to me.
Everybody okay?
Yes.
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 Okay, all right. So I will, Brad, I will issue these permits. I'll write these permits up for you in the morning and send them to you then, and you can go ahead and get your contractors lined up.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Everybody have a great evening.
You
and
too.
Thank
All
you,
right.
you as well.
I appreciate your service to the town. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
Good night.
Good night.
All right. I hope that Steve Sullivan is going to appear and talk about the out of season beaver trapping permit on Baker Road. He's meant to be here in just a couple minutes, and I hope he hasn't forgotten. While we're waiting for him, let's talk about that thing that's going on at Gribco's with the irrigation plan, using lake water to irrigate their lawn or their garden or whatever it is. Miriam DeFont, who's now chair of Concom, called me to ask about that, and that's why I was asking about this E. coli thing, because it was basically a public health question. Are we risking people getting sick by when the E. coli levels are high in the lake, as occasionally happens? This year so far only once. Is it going to get aerosolized? Are people going to breathe it and get sick or whatever? I
So
looked at, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so you got that article I forwarded?
Yes,
So that is about sewage treatment and aerosolization of E. coli.
yes, I
Um,
noticed that. So it's starting with a much more concentrated level of E.
Like-
coli.
Yeah, orders of magnitude,
Mhm.
like you can't even, they're incomparable.
Right.
So I wouldn't want to give the impression that irrigating your lawn with a pump and a hose and a spray nozzle is anything like aerating sewage.
Right, right.
Um,
Yeah, that article was interesting, but it doesn't seem to be particularly
No, and I wasn't,
enlightening on this.
at that time, I was not aware that it was lawn watering. So,
Ah,
um,
okay.
and here's Stephen Sullivan.
Oh, excellent. Well, why don't we drop this and talk with Steve? Hello, Steve. Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Ah, and now we see you too. Excellent.
Hi, Steve.
Oh, hey, it's my neighbor.
It is. Hi there.
Mine too, sort of.
So I had kind of thought that people might come. Oh, this is the other thing. It's the beaver permit. I was thinking I would add a message on that. People have expressed despair, rage, and indignation about the idea that we might allow the killing of beavers. And so I want, instead of just giving the permit, which is what we usually do, usually the minute we're asked for it, if it's public health or public safety, we just write the permit. We don't even wait. But since there is some public concern, I thought we should do it, the full board at a meeting, and ask a representative of the town who knows what it's about to explain it for the record. So Steve, take it away.
Oh, all right. Lucky me. Yeah.
Just explain what's going on there.
So what's going on with the Baker Reservoir is that there's a large family of beavers who are damming up they've figured out how to plug the beaver deceiver. So we keep going down there and pulling it out. But the big issue with that one is that that's a stone culvert, and it's about 4 feet wide, but it's only about 12 to 16 inches deep. And
Oh,
so anytime stuff starts getting in there, it just gets caught on the stones and really starts plugging it. But one of the big things this year is that I don't want to call it milfoil because I don't know the correct, but that weed, they have figured out how to use that mat of weeds to make their stuff even stronger.
yikes.
Mm.
Oh, is Catherine here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Did you go down to the boat ramp and see it all over the ground where it's been pulled out from the trailers?
I've seen it there, but it was dead, so I didn't,
Okay,
I
so
didn't get a chance to
so
kind
you-
of ID it.
You don't.
Noreen?
It's awful. You can hardly swim through it. It's very thick. It clings to you. It's not nice stuff.
Do we know what it is?
We know it is not an invasive.
So it's not
apparently the-
Eurasian water milfoil.
Right. Apparently the weed watchers from the Lake Wayolo Association went out and took a look, and none of them,
Oh.
they're not weed experts, but they've had some training, and
They
none
had
of
that
them,
training, yeah.
correct, yes, but none of
Uh-huh.
them seem to think it is an invasive.
Okay. Well, that's a relief. So it's a native, so it's not a sort of imported. It seems,
Well,
yeah,
So-
overgrowing, but
it may not
Okay.
be invasive in the true sense of the word, but in that
Right.
reservoir, it is growing like a giant mat. So when we had those 2 rains, that milfoil or whatever it is came up, and it was like someone took a roll of burlap that was 3 feet wide and rolled it right around the entire fence, because and then that of course helped keep the water from running out of the reservoir too.
I can confirm that. In that sense, it really does form quite a mat, and it's it's tough to get rid of. It clings to your dock and everything else. It's bad.
okay. So Steve, just to make this all real clear, they're plugging up the beaver deceivers. They are causing a clog in the culvert, and sort of what's the bottom line? What could happen that you're trying to prevent?
Well, we got lucky the last time, and the road didn't totally wash out. We had to rebuild the mouth of the culvert and the edge of the road, but and then of course it came up to the floorboards of that house at 244. It was right up to the floorboards of that house.
Okay. So damage to the road, damage to the culvert, damage to a residence. Those
Yes.
are the things that you're trying to prevent.
Yes, those are the 3 things.
Okay. All right. Well, as I said, if it had just been not of interest to the town, I would have just signed it weeks ago. But I am in favor of granting this permit. Is anybody not in favor of it?
May I just ask the nature of the traps, Steve? Do they kill the beavers, or are they relocated?
Well, it's illegal to relocate them.
Oh, sorry. Whoops. Okay.
So but they're not the conibear traps. They're suitcase traps.
Okay.
So it's like 2 big spring-loaded metal nets, right? That
Yes.
snap together.
Yep.
But they drown.
It's
That's how
chicken
they.
wire.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, they're lethal, but at least they're not,
Yeah.
torture.
Do you know, Steve, or does anyone have an estimate of how many individual beavers there are?
The Trapper went out yesterday around 4:30 or 5 with his canoe yesterday morning, and he said there's at least 6.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah. Okay.
Okay,
And so how many do you have to get rid of?
all of them.
All of them.
He didn't take his canoe out beyond the main reservoir, so he's not sure if there's another, if some of the juveniles from last year have moved somewhere else, because
Mm.
that's normally what happens is
Mm,
that they'll get kicked out and they'll go somewhere else,
mhm,
which is what we have happening down on Town Farm. And of course,
mhm.
that's DCR, that's not us.
Oh, right. Lucky for them. Do we have more questions for Steve?
Can I have the beaver carcasses after you kill them?
You'd have to, what does the Board of Health say about that?
Beats the heck out of me. I don't know.
I don't
I-
think that we would have any objection.
I'm afraid to ask why, but
He
maybe for
wants
the pelts.
he wants 6 beaver hats.
I see.
Exactly. I want to skin them.
I don't know of any reason why not, but I'm not a fish and wildlife person, so
Yeah, well, I mean, if it's allowed, I would be
Yeah.
interested. But anyway,
We'll
that's
we'll get you one anyway.
all right.
Whether
Mhm.
it's allowed, whether it's allowed or not, we'll get, because he said there's some of them are probably 35 to 50 pounds.
Yeah,
ooh,
that's cool. All right.
So,
So we'll do that.
right, yeah, by me, if the trapper is willing to give them up, Wim could have them all.
yeah, me
Just,
too.
right,
I-
just
and I
don't bring them over to my house.
And I expect to see you in a beaver skin coat
There you
this
go.
winter, okay? If you get all 6.
Okay. Are we agreed to issue this
Is
permit?
there any kind?
Yes.
Is there any kind of damage control you have to do though with the people who might object to this? I know it's a difficult proposition because often people that take a position against pest control have very strong beliefs and an explanation like we're balancing this against avoiding damage to town property, or that beavers are incredibly successful animals and we are not in any way endangering the overall beaver population.
Mhm.
Certainly not. I
And then
don't know if you know this, but probably now 40, 50 years ago, after the beaver population in Massachusetts was just about wiped out by the beaver fur trade. Fish and Wildlife or some other agency maybe 40, 50 years ago decided to reintroduce breeding pairs of beavers to Western Massachusetts. And they have been so successful that now you cannot spit in Western Massachusetts without hitting a beaver or some of its works. So, I mean, there's no shortage of the damn things.
We,
And,
we,
Go ahead.
another part of the public information might have to do with the diseases that beaver are responsible for spreading, including
Right.
Giardia.
Yeah.
And Steve, you referenced Baker Reservoir, but that's not a drinking water supply. Does it feed the reservoir down on January Hills Road at all?
Yes,
it-
so it runs under
Okay,
West Pelham, and then it goes right down into the Amherst.
it does. Okay.
Yes.
I figured that I just wasn't sure whether it was a direct connection.
Yeah, because it does. It travels under West Pelham. That's what the flume is on Sand Hill that they call the
Oh.
flume, and then it goes
Okay.
under Pratt
Okay.
Corner and right into the reservoir.
Okay, so
Yeah.
a mention of the potential for beaver bodies of water populated by beaver to contain Giardia is probably worth it too.
Yeah,
Those are the
absolutely.
reasons.
Right. Right. Well, these are all things that I will mention in a message explaining this, and also explaining that we give these permits once every 1 or 2 years, and it's usually for Atkins Reservoir, in fact, where they have occasionally have resident beavers, in the town of
Mhm.
Amherst applies for those. This is not an unusual thing. It just happens to be beavers that, that these people know. And as far as managing public opinion, yes, I want to explain it, but if people are offended by this, I don't care.
Mhm.
I mean, this is our job, right?
Yep.
Great.
And so I will say that if anybody wants to see what impressive engineers beavers are,
Mm.
you go down to Town Farm and
Oh, yeah.
park at that little turnaround and then walk the DCR path towards 202. There is a series of 7 or 8 locks that just climb the hill. And it is the most amazing thing to see if you're into beaver dams.
It
Yeah.
really is astonishing. I remember seeing it years ago. It looked like a whole beaver city.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's still intact.
Great.
So I want to thank you, but so this is, you were talking about Amherst, but the last 2 times that Shutesbury has requested this, it's been the culvert that leads from Pine Brook to Lake Wyola.
Right.
They're
Mhm.
still busy in there too.
Mm, mhm.
Yeah, that's a really attractive spot for them.
Right in the middle too of the culvert, not on either end, but right in the middle.
Right. They know that it's harder to reach. Right. They're not stupid.
Oh, no, and debris is removed from that culvert every single day.
They're pretty fast. One time up on one of those paths that goes along Fisk Brook there on the Shutesbury side, I saw a tree that had been completely gnawed by beavers, but it was stuck upright from the branches. So it was basically like balanced in midair with nothing on the bottom. Those must have been very frustrated beavers. So are we there yet?
Mhm.
Any more questions or comments?
No.
No.
Okay.
Nothing for me.
All right. I will sign the permit for you, Steve. Where do you want me to send it? I can sign it. I've got it here. I can sign it. I can scan it, and I can email it anywhere you want it. Where would that be?
Oh, you can email it to the Shutesbury Highway Department, DEPT, at
Okay.
shutesbury.org.
Okay. Okay.
Or it can go to Sullivan S at shutesburyschool.org too.
Well, whichever is your
Yeah,
preference. Or
let's do the Sullivan S at shutesbury.org that way, because Tim's sort of on vacation, sort of out on rehabbing, so that way I'll have.
Did he get injured?
No, he had to have his shoulder surgery again.
Oh no. Well, I'm sorry to hear it.
Some vacation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really. Right. I always wanted to go on vacation that way. Okay. All right. You're good to go.
Well, thank you
gonna-
so much, everybody.
Thanks,
Well,
Steve.
Thank you,
thanks for
Steve.
coming in.
Have a good night.
If we can go back for just a second to the E. coli and the irrigation
Yeah, we
sprinkler
weren't
system.
done. We weren't done. I just interrupted. you.
Yeah, I haven't seen that article about sewage and aerosolization of E. coli, and I'd be interested if someone has the link for that. But the only thing that I wanted to add is that short of what might be contained in that article, I don't know of transmission of E. coli other than the fecal oral route. So if you don't swallow it, I don't think you're going to get infected with it, but that article may say something different. And again, my thought was the dilution factor of what is found in the water in the lake is light years different from what would be of a concern. But when E. coli contaminated water is used to irrigate crops, and that's how we get, when we eat the E. coli tainted lettuce.
Right.
But assuming that no one's going to eat this person's lawn, then if you don't eat it, if you're not swimming in it and swallowing it, or if you're not eating produce that's been irrigated with it, then I do not see a risk. And even if someone were to water their garden with this, I can't imagine that the concentration poses a risk.
I totally agree with you. And I should tell you, if you don't already know, that this is an ex post facto application. They've
Yes.
been doing this for
Mhm.
years.
Right.
And suddenly it occurred to them that they should get a permit for it. And I don't see any reason why we should object to it. If somebody were going to get sick, we'd probably have known about it by now.
I mean, if it were a commercial agricultural operation and they were using a
Mhm.
significant amount of water, I'd be more concerned
Yes.
about the volume of water.
Right.
Right.
But this is a non-issue as far as I'm concerned.
I agree.
I agree too.
So from a health perspective, I think there are no issues. If in fact, a lot of people have concerns about it being a precedent, or if some, as you put it, in commercial agricultural operations started it, then that's another concern, but that is not under the purview of the Board of Health. That would be, I guess, Concom or Water Resources or some other body, but from a health perspective, I see no issues here.
No.
I agree.
Agreed.
So I'll just pass that word on to Miriam, and they can do whatever they're going to do.
Okay.
Okay. So 56 Wendell Road. Last time we talked about this, there was concern about securing the building, and also concern about getting some kind of a timeline, a word which is apparently causing some consternation with the homeowner for demolition. I got a long rambling email from him explaining that he was, having all these health problems, and that people weren't returning his calls when he tried to get, the place demolished. Ken said he is willing to board the place up with, get a few friends and do the boarding up. Charlie sent, my God, a horribly detailed thing from the United States Fire Institute or Association or some congregate thing, which was basically about how to secure an unoccupied building to keep it from becoming a target for arsonists or a crack house or something like that, which it seems pretty unlikely that anybody is going to move into it. Greg goes there pretty much daily to work on stuff. And even Charlie said he's less concerned about that than about not having a timeline. So after our last meeting, we agreed to extend the deadline for the timeline from August 1st to September 1st. And I think it would be good if we asked Steve to just report on what attempts he has made to get the place demolished, and what the outcome has been, which was either they called him, or they called him back, or they didn't call him back, or whatever, and what further calls he intends to make to try to get get a contract to get the place demolished. He and Ken apparently even talked about the possibility of it being burned down the rest of the way as a fire department practice thing, which, does happen from time to time. To do that, you have to remove certain toxics from the building before they burn it. But it does seem like something that might happen.
Hmm.
That reminds me, you remember they did that with the house on lot 032. They had a practice burn with that, and now the garage is gone. I don't know if you've driven by there and seen it. It's been torn down.
Oh, did not
So
see that.
there's nothing on the site now except a dumpster.
Okay.
Just for your information.
Mhm.
William, you look like you were going to say something.
No, I'm
Okay.
all set with the possibility of crack houses in downtown.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
Across the street from the
Seriously?
church.
yeah.
And
Right. Those
and may-
Baptists, I'll tell you.
I must say, William, you sound so much better.
Yeah, really.
I don't know what you did, but it worked.
Yeah, I got off my phone and got on my computer.
Oh, there you
That'll
go.
do it. Okay, good.
Perfect. So I'm going to communicate with Greg Steve again, and ask him to report to us
Mhm.
on his progress or lack thereof in writing
By the 20th of September,
by the 1st,
by the 1st of September. Okay.
right? Because that's the date when the extension runs out. If we need to re-extend the extension, I don't think we should do it more than a month at a time, because that's not
Oh,
not
okay.
sending the right message.
Why did I have the 20th in my head? Okay.
I have no idea,
I don't know. Okay.
but no, it's for the 1st. And that reminds me, speaking of dates in September, Mary Ann told me last night that nobody's even thinking about Celebrate Shutesbury anymore. And they
Mhm.
had
Good.
planned it, but everything got so scary, they
Yeah.
basically aren't even talking about it.
Yeah.
So
Too bad.
there it is. Yeah, it is too bad, but it's probably just as well that they're not. Is there anything else that we should be talking about?
I'm happy to give a really short summary of what happened in my meeting with the elementary school administration.
Mhm.
Okay, and this was the Friday after our last meeting, I think it was. Anyway, within the last 2 weeks, I met with principal, superintendent, and school nurse. And by way of background, Desi has said that all public schools must be in person, full days, 5 days a week for all students. So the hybrid learning is not an option. That for K through 6, masks need to be worn indoors by all the kids and all unvaccinated staff. And everybody, all age groups need to be sorry, that is Victoria Shaw calling me. That is another question, another thing. Hold on 1 second.
She won't
I'm
take
gonna-
no for an answer.
No, she will not. Hold on. Geez, I'll come back to you.
Does anybody else have something they want to be talking about while Arlene is absent?
I was going to give an update on the question about sheltering, but we should wait for Arlene because Arlene asked the question.
Oh, okay. I assume you are aware that they opened up a pool room in town hall,
Yeah.
but nobody came.
Yeah, no
as
one came.
usual, nobody came. And I talked with Becky about it, and I said, I thanked her because I knew she had to go to trouble to do it. Oh, that reminds me, there's something else I have to talk about.
All right, so I'm back, just to let you know.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
um,
so
go ahead.
anyway, really short. For the elementary school, that last spring when they came back to in-person, they did lunch every day outdoors under a tent. And it was a huge amount of work and it is not sustainable, especially as the weather turns colder. So all the kids will be required to mask all day. They will eat lunch indoors at least once the weather starts to turn colder. But what they're doing is 3 20-minute periods with 2 grades in the cafeteria at one time, each for a 20-minute stretch. They will have all the kids seated at distance. They'll sit with their classroom cohorts, but with distance between them because they have to take off the mask. They will all face in the same direction in the cafeteria. And parents who pack lunches are being asked to keep in mind the kid needs to be able to finish that lunch in 20 minutes. Some kids do get in a line for the kitchen produced lunches and they will maintain distance there. They're cohorting their classrooms. They won't do, classrooms will not combine with one another. Classrooms have separate entrances and grade specific restrooms. There is also, DPH is providing Binax now rapid test kits for a couple of different purposes. One option is a test and stay program for kids who've been identified as contacts of COVID, but who they themselves are without symptoms. If they get a daily rapid test that is negative, they may stay in school. And the school is hoping to pursue that test and stay program. So that's about the size of it for the school.
Sounds awful.
Yeah, doesn't it? Victoria Shaw is calling me because they have learned of a positive case in a camper at Morse Hill Outdoor Education Center. And there's a whole bunch of kids who've ended up being contacts because of transportation, riding in a van along with, but none of this, neither the case nor any of the contacts is a Shutesbury resident, but the camp is closing for the next couple of days. And I've been working with her today on communications with the families, what to say. And I will create this whole event in Maven. So that's been breaking news. So
Wow.
I wanted to bring up, I know Arlene, you offered to get me indoctrinated into the Maven system. And I'd be interested in that.
Okay, Wim, I can show you what it looks like, but there is an official onboarding process that I can't do. That DPH has to do it. It's an online training and the whole process from asking to be onboarded to completing the onboarding. I think it takes 2 weeks, but they have to go through that with you. But I'm happy to show you what it looks like if you want.
I think, and correct me if you think it's superfluous, but it might be useful to have.
Yeah,
It'd
we
be
could
good
do
to have backup.
we could even do it on a Zoom with my sharing a screen if you would like. But again, they have to onboard you. Okay, we'll talk.
Right.
That's all I got.
Okay, well, gosh, that was a lot, actually.
Sorry.
So, well, no, I mean, it's what it is. So Garrett, we wanted to talk about sheltering and the emergency management team.
Yeah, so Noreen and I attended the emergency management team meeting on Monday and did pose the question that you had asked Arlene about sheltering plans in the town. And so first we did ask about when the town opened recently, the cooling location, whether or not they had anyone take advantage of that, and no one did.
Okay.
But the Chief Tibbetts did say that, there are plans, whether it's, utilization of town hall for heating, cooling, smaller numbers of people who might need an overnight stay or utilization of the school.
Mhm.
But in terms of being able to staff something medium to long term, that it would be more likely that they would utilize other resources if they were available and provide transportation to those sheltering resources.
Okay.
And sometimes the cheaper option is just to put somebody up in a hotel.
Well,
If
thanks
it's
for,
a few people,
thanks
yeah.
very much for checking that out. I guess I'm not surprised that no one took advantage of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think Becky even said that with the ice storm, 2008 ice storm, that they had one person take advantage of it, and that was somebody who was just passing through town and got stuck.
Oh,
Interesting.
Yeah.
wow.
You said people mostly have used it for just charging batteries or for getting water to water their animals.
Interesting. Okay.
Right. Yeah, so I mean, on the one hand, it feels like it should be something the town is offering, and on the other hand, nobody ever uses it anyway.
Yeah.
At the meeting last night, Arlene and I were at the meeting explaining the library pilot project that Shutesbury is applying for, and one of the desiderata of the library board is the state library board, that is to have libraries that can provide heating, cooling, and charging. It wouldn't be, presumably it wouldn't be enough to be shelter, but it would be another resource, sort of purpose built for that.
Mhm.
If we get the grant.
Yeah. Maybe even put a shower in there or something,
Well, that's an interesting thought. I didn't think of adding that to the list last night.
No, did I?
I don't think that I have anything else that I want to talk about.
Okay. Well,
Anybody else?
okay, I'm gonna go sign off then and call Victoria back.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Keep us informed on that.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Okay. Thanks, Arlene. Good night.
Thanks, Arlene.
All right. Do you want me to go ahead and stop recording?
Are we done?
I think so.
Okay. We might as well stop. It is, wow, 7:50, a new record.